Welcome to Infinite Mind Potential, where we explore the depths of human spirit through the ancient and timeless wisdom of Bushido. Meet Dai, a young martial artist with perfect technique, standing victorious in the ring, surrounded by cheering crowds and bright lights. Despite 17 consecutive wins and a flawless record, Dai felt a profound emptiness growing inside his heart with every single victory. He sat alone in the silence of the locker room, wondering why the applause of the crowd could not fill his soul. Driven by a desperate need for answers, he left his fame behind and journeyed deep into the mountains to find a master. The path was steep and treacherous, testing his physical endurance as he sought the legendary Master Kenshin, the keeper of old ways. He finally arrived at the summit, finding the master not practicing combat, but sweeping the courtyard with calm and focused attention. Dai bowed low and begged for instruction, hoping to learn the secret techniques that would finally make him feel truly complete. The master spoke softly, telling Dai that true strength is not in the fist, but in the virtues of the spirit. Thus began the first trial of Ji, or integrity, the power to do the right thing regardless of the personal cost. They descended to the village, where they witnessed a wealthy merchant bullying a poor farmer and cheating him out of money. Dai instinctively clenched his fists to strike, but the master stopped him, signaling that violence was not the solution for justice. Instead of fighting, Dai had to stand firm and speak the truth clearly, forcing the merchant to acknowledge his own wrongdoing. Dai realized that integrity meant having the moral courage to uphold justice without needing to resort to anger or physical force. That night, under the pale moonlight, Dai understood that doing what is right is often harder than winning a physical fight. The next morning brought a new test of integrity, as Kenshin entrusted Dai with a bag of gold found on the road. Though he was hungry and tired, Dai walked past the food stalls, resisting the temptation to use even a single coin. He found the owner, a weeping old woman who needed the money for medicine, and returned every coin without expecting a reward. The gratitude in her eyes gave him a sense of fulfillment that no trophy or championship belt had ever provided him. He returned to the master with a lighter step, having learned that true integrity is the foundation of all other virtues. Now came the second trial, Yu, or courage, which is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. Kenshin led him to the edge of a jagged cliff where the wind howled, and the drop was fatal and terrifying. The master commanded him to cross a rotting wooden bridge that swayed violently in the wind, suspended high above the rocks. Dai looked down and his legs began to tremble uncontrollably, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped wild bird. He wanted to turn back, but he knew that retreating now would mean he would remain a prisoner of his fear forever. He took a deep breath, accepting the fear coursing through his veins, and forced his shaking leg to take another step. The wind roared and the bridge twisted, but Dai held on, transforming his terror into a laser-focused awareness of the moment. Step by agonizing step, he moved forward, realizing that courage was not feeling safe, but moving forward while feeling unsafe. When he finally collapsed on solid ground, he understood that he had conquered not the bridge, but his own internal panic. The master appeared beside him and explained that true bravery is acting with purpose, even when your body screams to run. Dai realized his previous fights required no courage because he always knew he would win. This was his first true battle. He stood up with a new strength in his spine, knowing that fear was just a sensation to be observed and managed. With the virtue of courage integrated into his spirit, Dai's movements became more grounded, no longer driven by the anxiety of failure. The third trial was Jin, or benevolence, teaching that true power is found in protecting the weak and showing mercy. Walking through the forest, Dai discovered a wounded wolf caught in a trap, snarling and snapping in pain and fear. His warrior instinct told him to kill the beast to protect himself, but his heart hesitated, seeing the creature's suffering. Remembering the lesson of benevolence, he put away his weapon and chose to risk his own safety to help the animal. The wolf bit his arm in panic, but Dai endured the sharp pain, refusing to strike back or punish the creature. His calm energy eventually soothed the beast, allowing him to pry open the steel trap and set the injured leg free. The wolf did not attack him again. Instead, it offered a silent look of gratitude before disappearing into the deep woods. Dai bandaged his own wound, realizing that the power to heal and forgive was far greater than the power to destroy. The master watched from the shadows, seeing that the young warrior was finally learning to balance his strength with compassion. Dai began to use his immense physical strength not for fighting, but for serving those who could not help themselves. He found joy in the laughter of children, understanding that a true warrior fights to protect peace, not to create conflict. Next was the trial of Re, or respect, which teaches that we must honor the existence of everyone, regardless of status. Kenshin invited a filthy beggar into their pristine dojo to share tea, challenging Dai's internal bias and sense of superiority. Dai sat at a distance, unable to hide his disgust, judging the man by his ragged clothes and unpleasant smell. However, the master bowed to the beggar with the same deep reverence he would show to an emperor or a god. Kenshin reminded Dai that every human being carries a divine spark, and true respect is honoring that spark in everyone. Overcome with shame, Dai moved closer and poured tea for the guest, forcing himself to look past the dirt and grime. When the beggar smiled, Dai saw a human soul, just like his own, struggling and surviving in a harsh world. He bowed deeply, realizing that arrogance is a weakness, and treating others with dignity is the mark of a strong character. Dai began to practice respect in every small action, arranging shoes neatly and bowing to the training hall before entering. He understood that manners are not just empty rituals, but a way to harmonize with the world and people around him. The starfighter who once demanded attention was now a humble student who gave attention and respect to everything he encountered. The fifth trial was Makoto, or honesty, requiring the courage to speak the truth even when it damages your own reputation. Reporters from the city tracked Dai down, praising his flawless record and asking him to return for a big championship fight. They asked him about his 10th victory, a legendary fight that cemented his fame, calling it a masterpiece of skill. Dai remembered the dark secret of that night. He had used an illegal strike when the referee wasn't looking to win. He stood frozen, knowing that revealing the truth would destroy his legacy, but keeping silent would destroy his soul. With a trembling voice, Dai looked into the cameras and admitted that he had cheated in that fight and didn't deserve the win. The crowd gasped in disappointment, and the glory he had built for years crumbled to dust in a matter of seconds. Yet, as the fans turned away, Dai felt a massive weight lift from his chest, a burden he had carried for years. Master Kenshin approached him with a smile, telling him that while he had lost his fans, he had regained his honor. Dai realized that a lie is a heavy chain that binds the spirit, and only the raw truth can set a warrior free. He spent the evening writing a letter of apology to his former opponent, completing the circle of honesty and taking responsibility. The sixth trial was Meiyo, or honor, living by a strict internal code regardless of how others define your value. News of his confession spread, and the villagers who once cheered him now mocked him as a fraud and a loser. Local thugs surrounded him, spitting insults and trying to provoke the fallen champion into a street fight for their amusement. His old ego screamed at him to crush them and prove his dominance, but his new sense of honor held him back. He realized that true honor is not about defending your reputation, but about maintaining your dignity when others try to take it. His silence was louder than their shouts, and his refusal to engage in their petty game made them feel small and foolish. He walked through them without raising a hand, proving that he no longer needed the validation of others to know his worth. Kenshin saw this and knew Dai had learned that honor is an internal compass, not a trophy given by the crowd. Dai looked at his reflection in the stream and finally respected the man staring back at him, regardless of public opinion. He continued his training with renewed vigor, driven not by the desire for applause, but by the pursuit of personal excellence. The seventh trial was Chugi, or loyalty. The commitment to stay true to one's master and promises, even when facing death. A massive storm struck the mountain, threatening to tear the old wooden dojo apart with violent winds and heavy rain. Master Kenshin was bedridden with a high fever, unable to move as the roof began to buckle under the storm's power. Dai could have fled to safety down the mountain, but he chose to stay and defend the home of his teacher. He climbed onto the slippery roof in the middle of the raging typhoon, risking his life to secure the broken beams. Debris cut his face, and the wind tried to throw him off, but his loyalty to Kenshin gave him superhuman strength. When the repairs failed, he used his own body as a shield, holding a tarp over his master for the entire night. When the storm passed, Kenshin awoke to find his students sleeping on the wet floor, having refused to abandon his post. This act of selfless devotion proved that Dai possessed Chugi, a loyalty that burns brighter than the instinct for self-preservation. They shared tea in the damaged dojo, bonded by a trust that can only be forged in the fires of adversity. The final and hardest trial was Jisei, or self-control, the ultimate challenge of mastering one's own ego and emotional impulses. Kenshin led him to the Cave of Mirrors and told him that his final and most dangerous opponent was waiting inside. Dai entered the darkness, sword drawn, only to find himself surrounded by reflections of his own face on the walls. Suddenly, a shadow stepped out from the glass, a dark version of himself, embodying all his past anger, pride, and greed. The shadow attacked with ferocious speed, knowing every move Dai made, mocking him for his past mistakes and hidden insecurities. Dai was beaten back, realizing he could not defeat this enemy with force, because fighting the ego only makes it stronger. He raised his sword to strike a killing blow, but stopped, remembering that true control comes from stillness, not reaction. Dai sheathed his blade and stood completely still, accepting his dark side, but refusing to let it control his actions. The shadow lunged, but without Dai's resistance to fuel it, the phantom blade passed harmlessly through him like smoke. The darkness dissolved and merged back into him, no longer a monster, but a part of his whole, balanced self. He emerged from the cave reborn, having mastered the hardest art of all, the ability to conquer himself. Master Kenshin handed him a simple wooden sword, signifying that he no longer needed sharp steel to be a warrior. Dai looked back at the path he had traveled, from an arrogant fighter seeking fame to a warrior seeking peace. He descended the mountain, but he did not return to the boxing ring or the bright lights of the stadium. Instead, he opened a humble school for the village children, teaching them that the greatest victory is over oneself. He passed on the 8 virtues, ensuring that the next generation would grow up with strong hearts and clear minds. One day, a student asked him if he missed the glory of his 17 victories and the cheering of the crowds. Dai smiled and replied that he had found a far greater prize, the peace that comes from a life of virtue. Let us remember Gi, integrity, the compass that guides us to do what is right, even when no one is watching. Yu, courage, the fire that propels us forward through our fears and allows us to act despite our trembling legs. Jin, benevolence, the gentle strength that chooses to heal and protect rather than to destroy and dominate the weak. Rei, respect, the wisdom to see the divine value in every person and treat them with dignity and grace. Makoto, honesty, the bravery to speak the truth and own our mistakes, no matter the cost to our image. Meiyo, honor, the internal code that keeps our head high and our spirit clean, regardless of the opinions of others. Chugi, loyalty, the unbreakable bond of devotion to our mentors, our loved ones, and our own highest principles. And Jisei, self-control, the ultimate mastery of the ego, bringing peace to the chaotic battlefield of the human mind. Like Dai, we all face these trials in our daily lives, fighting battles that are unseen by the world. True strength is not about how many opponents you defeat, but how many virtues you can uphold in difficult times. The sword that stays in the sheath is often more powerful than the one that is drawn in anger. You do not need to be a samurai to practice Bushido. You can apply these virtues in your modern life today. Every time you choose honesty over profit or kindness over anger, you are walking the path of the warrior. Every time you speak up for someone who has no voice, you are embodying the ancient spirit of courage and benevolence. The potential for this greatness lies within you, waiting to be awakened by your choices and your daily actions. Start small. Pick one virtue to practice this week and watch how it transforms your reality and your relationships. If you ever feel empty like Dai once did, remember that fulfillment comes from within, not from external achievements. The master is not just on the mountain. The master is the voice of wisdom that whispers in your own heart. Forge your mind like steel. Remove the impurities of ego and sharpen your spirit with the whetstone of discipline. Life is the ultimate dojo, and every challenge you face is an opportunity to defeat your lower self. Do not fear failure, for even a warrior falls. Fear only the stagnation of never trying to rise again. Remember that the strongest people are often the gentlest, because they have nothing to prove to the world. Live your life in such a way that when you look back, you see a legacy of honor and kindness. You are the sculptor of your own character, and every decision is a strike of the chisel upon the stone. Do not let the harshness of the world harden your heart. Stay soft, stay open, and stay true to your virtues. Share these values with those around you, for a single candle can light 1,000 others without losing its flame. Bushido is not a relic of the past. It is a living, breathing philosophy that is desperately needed right now. Be a warrior of light in a world of shadows, holding your integrity high like a lantern in the dark. Wake up each morning with the resolve to be better than you were yesterday, one small action at a time. Be patient with your progress, for the mighty oak tree grows slowly, but its roots go deep and strong. Find the balance between strength and mercy, between action and stillness, and you will find the center of your power. In moments of stress, return to your breath, the bridge that connects your mind and body in the present moment. Believe in your infinite potential to change, to grow, and to become the master of your own destiny. Dai's story has reached its conclusion, but your journey is just beginning, and the pen is in your hand. Write a legend of your own life, one that is defined not by wealth, but by the richness of your character. We thank you for walking this path with us today and exploring the deep wisdom of the samurai spirit. If this story touched your heart, please share it with a friend who might need a reminder of their strength. Leave a comment below telling us which of the 8 virtues resonates most with you in your life right now. We read and cherish every single comment, as we are all students learning together in this great dojo of life. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a lesson on unlocking your mind. We're working hard to bring you more profound stories and insights to help you navigate the modern world. Remember to live fully in each moment, for the present is the only place where life truly exists. The power to change your life is not in the future or the past, but right here, in your hands. Until next time, fellow warriors, keep fighting the good fight and stay true to the noble path of virtue. May your spirit be strong, your heart be kind, and your mind be infinite in its potential and peace. Thank you for watching Infinite Mind Potential. Subscribe now to unlock more ancient wisdom and elevate your own spiritual journey today.